Right. Today I am going to review the base set of the Dominion board game. I'm reviewing it as an expansion. This is not going to be a review about Dominion. If you're wondering whether you should play Dominion, the answer is yes. I've played tens of thousands of games of Dominion. I would not do that if it were not a good game. You can even watch some of them on this channel, although it may not make a whole lot of sense if that's what you're looking for. I'm reviewing this as an expansion, and I guess the first question is, why would you be reviewing this as an expansion? It turns out you do not actually need to buy the base set, that is the thing that's called Dominion, in order to play Dominion. You can actually buy a product. There's a product called Base Cards. It has, the things you need to play in it: copper, silver, gold, states, curses, provinces, duchies, and you can buy this thing separately from this base set. And with it, that's not everything you need. You can also get some expansion that is not the base set. I don't know that it's recommended, but seeing as this is a thing that you can do, we're going to review the base set. The way these reviews work is I go through some of the mechanics. I go through components in the set, and then we look at some of the extremes of it, and we're going to give each of those a letter grades, and at the end make a weighted average of them. So base set. It's a zeroth expansion. There was, nothing before this. This was the original. It was released in October 2008. It's a good thing it was, because it's a fantastic game. About 8 years later, there was a second edition for it. Do not get the first edition. You should, if there's a second edition available for these things, you should get them. The original versions are no good. They have things that you are just worse than the second edition. Don't bother getting the first. It comes with 26 kingdom cards, and there are some base cards in it. These things that we talked about before, the copper, gold, whatever. You get copies of them when you buy one of these things. Clearly Dominion is new. I'm not going to go over the mechanics of Dominion. Dominion's good. But as I said, you don't need this to be playing Dominion. And really what the big thing is in the base set is these simple cards that I guess we can call them more beginner cards. Alright, so there's going to be one mechanic here. It's these simple cards. The base set has especially these cards that are very, very basic. They just have, these +3 cards, or +2 cards +1 action, or +2 actions +1 buy +2 coins. These things that are pretty self-explanatory. They're 100% keyword. These, I don't know that they're the most compelling thing, but it is nice to have them. You wouldn't want to have a early expansion or early set that is all weird text that you have to read through. So it's good to have some of these basics. In this case, actually, specifically, I'm going to point out Village and Smithy tend to be the cheapest version of them compared to other expansions, and so you can kind of think of that as a little bonus. It's fine. I'm not going to complain that they're simple cards. That would be stupid if there weren't. But it's not really compelling. There's nothing bad about them, but it's not great either. So we're giving this theme B-. Alright, moving right along to our components. The base set does have some attacks. There's 4 of them, in fact. There's your very basic discard attack. We can call it your basic cursor. It gives you +2 cards as you go along. A trashing attack that only trashes treasures, gain a gold. And then this bureaucrat, which is a top-decking attack. Bureaucrat's terrible. That's definitely a point against it. Bandit, you're mainly getting for the gain of gold. It's bonus if you trash it, but really this is for gain of gold, and it's pretty tough to trash out things with the top 2 cards of your deck when you're looking for something specific, like a revealed treasure other than copper. That's not going to be something that's automatically having, and often people are going to try to fill their deck with action cards, so it's going to be really tough to target with that. So these two tend to be a little bit weaker on the attack end. These are, of course, classics. Strong discard attack, can never be sad about that. Strong cursor, can't really be sad about that either. And so, just despite these ones being maybe not the most compelling as attacks, I'm giving this a B. Alright, draw pieces. We usually look for quantity over quality, as I say. There's 9 of them. None of them are really difficult to use. Maybe library's a little bit off, but even at 8.5 out of 25, we're not doing the greatest. We usually like that to be up around, half of the cards in the expansion are helping you draw. I think these ones are actually it's a pretty nice set of draw cards. You have your non-terminal draw that you can work with. You have some simple terminal draw. You actually have 3 villages, which is a decent ratio. And so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and give this up to a B+. In the base set, there's another thing where I guess you don't really have to always draw all the time, because there's so many +1 card, +1 action, and do something else that you don't really have to have as much of this draw in as you maybe do in other expansions that have more oppressive things to do with your deck. Looking at the payload is basically the cool stuff you get to do with your deck. Base is a little bit lacking here. You have a good gainer in Artisan. It can gain up to Duchy, so we're putting it here, but it can also gain, cool stuff. We talked about this laboratory, maybe festival, council room. This can really get your deck going, and in a really strong fashion. Bandit, we complained about the attack when we were talking about attacks, but here it's a perfectly fine gold gainer. This is a way that you can increase the number of coins you're putting out. A remodel, maybe turn your golds into provinces afterwards, or whatever into something better. And then in the base set specifically, and especially when you're playing heavy base set games, this vassal card ends up being a really strong source of coins, just because you can usually play a lot of them when you're in these base heavy games. And so, it's not the most exciting. None of this is particularly explosive, but it'll get the job done when you need it. So, although it's not particularly exciting, we'll still give it a C+. Alright, extremes. High-end strength. We haven't seen either of these yet, but these are the strongest cards in the base set. They're trashers. Chapel is a very, very strong trasher. Sentry is a very, very strong trasher. And, although I don't really usually like seeing, trashers as the high-end strength in the context of the base set, where it's going to be mostly for beginners, I think it's really important to have strong trash. And so, these things just make it so much easier for decks to be getting going. And so, for that reason, especially in this context, I'm giving it an A. Low-end strength. We talked about Bureaucrat. It sucks. There's another card, and it's also mine. It sucks. These are not cards that you're going to be buying, hardly ever. That said, you do buy them sometimes, so it's not like the worst thing ever. Sometimes you're going to want the treasure gain out of Bureaucrat. Sometimes this is going to be, this is going to be the payload. You'd really like it to be gain a gold, but, sometimes gain a silver is going to have to do. Similarly, mine, you'd really like to be, trashing these treasures and gaining them in some more efficient manner, but sometimes it's going to be what you have to do. So, although these are, we'll call them nearly unbuyable, they're not completely unbuyable, and so we'll not give it a fail grade, we'll give it a D. Alright. Most exciting, it's Artisan. We talked about this, you get to gain stuff to your hand, and you even get to play it right away. It does have this little drawback, but, you have Artisan, you have a village in your deck. This is a really cool thing you can actually do, really across any expansion. That said, compared to the most exciting thing you can do in other expansions, it's not that exciting. It's not explosive or anything, it's just kind of this, I don't know, almost standard gainer. So, although, Artisan itself, cool card, we're grading on a curve here for excitement, so it's down there at a D. Most unpleasant, I'm calling it mine. It's not really that it does anything that's bad, it's just that it exists and it's terrible, and so you don't really want to deal with it. It's not that it's, something that makes your games worse, it just doesn't make them better. And so, I'm not going to say that that's a good thing. I'm just going to say that it's kind of average, it's neutral. We'll give it a B. Alright, it's the base set. I don't know what you were expecting in terms of theme. It's a castle. It's a kingdom. You're building a kingdom. Don't disappoint your grandmother. All that. B. Artwork, early sets tend to be a little bit rough on this. Base set's no exception. It's kind of mediocre, C+. Vibe, base set actually has some pretty good vibes. Like, a lot of the time in base heavy games, you're playing and you're going along and you can do stuff. Like, you can draw, you can produce a lot of coins, you can remodel some stuff. There's good things to do in base set, although it may not be the most exciting. Like, you will often be able to get stuff done, and so I'm going to put that up at an A-. Alright, altogether, weighted average, 2.72. It's not amazing, but, I don't know what you're expecting out of the beginner set. Like, you're not going to be getting the most amazing stuff in the first expansion. That said, it's a good expansion to start out with, and it's always good to go back to the basics. So, if you somehow have the base cards plus some other cool expansion instead of the base set, should you buy the base set? Yeah, you should buy the base set.